Hey guys, after the break for the national teams, Euroleague is back with round 14. The agenda for today, the ups and downs of round 13, our team results, the coach of the week, and our team formation. Let's start with the credit bank.
And here we have the players that stood out on round 13 with their performances and especially with the increase or decrease in the credit score. So we see here the guard position, and we can see none having an explosive game. And on the other hand, Francisco, amazing game. From these very expensive choices, we would prefer Francisco due to his consistency and also the importance in the rotation for Zalgiris. We know Panathinaikos have a lot of options, so sometimes you may have a different protagonist in the game. On the other hand, Francisco had a game with 23 points, 11 assists, 3 steals, did everything for Zalgiris. So for the expensive choices, is probably the best here. And on this list we have De Colo. We've mentioned him many times this year, and he's been in that list many times this year. He's vintage, and he's really standing out for us well. So as long as he's healthy and he takes the minutes, he always delivers. Expensive price, but he has proven every time he's playing this year that he can deliver the fantasy points. Now, we have Panther, that on the first basketball game, he was amazing. He scored 36.3 fantasy points, but with the same credits, we would potentially prefer Baldwin, that he's having more consistent results lately. And then if we move on the other side, on the underperformance, we have Hifi on discount. He had an off game, but is one of the pillars for Paris. So we think now is actually good to pick him up, a good point for a bounce back game. Waller Bab also had a bad game. We also think potentially he's gonna bounce back, but 11 credits is slightly expensive, so we'll just keep an eye, but we think potentially he's gonna bounce back. And on the other hand, we have Edwards, that he's consistently been poor on shooting this year on percentage, so he's a risk, but also good price for his caliber, so also keeping an eye on him. Also want to mention Ellis. He's not been very consistent with Dubai, so he's very cheap choice, 8.8. So if he gets the time, sometimes he will actually deliver. But I think this comes with hand in hand with what happened on the left-hand side, with Wright having a great game. So sometimes these two compensate. So that's why we also keep away from both of these two. But having said that, is a solid choice for less than 9 credits. Moving on then to the forward position, we have some, again, iconic performance for Savon Shields. Very expensive, but again, he's delivering. But from this list, we like Nora, because if he continues now this good performances, his price may become very expensive, so it's a good time to pick him up with 13.2. Of course, Petrusev is very expensive with 15.8, but he's having a great fantasy year for Dubai. And finally, the Zenkov bounce back from his two mediocre, let's say, fantasy outputs in the 2 rounds before, and he's back on the plus 20, actually scored 28 fantasy points. Potentially he's also having a good matchup versus Fener, so very expensive too, but also a solid option. On the other hand, we have some big names underperforming. Clyburn, he had an off game, and you can also see Lyles having not the best output for Real. Perhaps is a good discount for Lyles now, but is a risk. So it's down to you if you the preference want to try that. And finally, we would say that Parker is becoming too cheap. But this is a whole lot of conversation of what's happening in Partizan, so we just keep an eye on that, because if Parker finds his playing self, let's say, then below 10 credits for this player is quite cheap. But we need to see first what is going to happen there. Moving on to center position, nothing major to mention. Thijs finally having a good fantasy game. We mentioned before, though, he's a bit expensive, so we would prefer to pay a little bit more and go for Milutinov, or pay less and get Farid. And then we have Diouf and Moteyunas, two very solid options for less than 8 credits. Nothing major on the underperforming ones. Wright had a couple of games when he lost value, so we're keeping an eye. He's becoming cheap, but we need to see a good game first to put our money there. And with that, we conclude the credit bank. So let's move to our results.
And as you see here, we have the classic example of Francisco and his friends. Francisco, as a captain, delivered massively with a 70.4 fantasy points, but the rest of the team gave us the maximum of 16 fantasy points, and that's from Milutinov. So overall, not the best round for us. We just managed to have 152.35 fantasy points. Lyles didn't deliver, just 5 fantasy points, 2.75 from the bench. Pascual in his home debut, as we mentioned in the previous episode, Barcelona won, so 10 fantasy points. It was another plus, but overall not the best round for us for the AlleyOopDunks. But is there another player that got more as a captain in this round, Bill?
Yes, absolutely. So Nan as a captain got 85 points, and of course we had him on our second team that we never put here on the screen. But when we get more than 200, 210 on this case, we just have a snip of that and what could happen if you had Nan and Francisco together, and Martinez. So yeah, 3 players can actually boost you to the moon. But we mentioned many times, fantasy contain, it's down to luck sometimes, and Nan was a risky option that played off, and it did play off because that was our second team and we didn't really care what would happen. So it turns out the less stressful team performs better sometimes. But yeah, this is just a playful way of what a great duo could do, right?
True, that's true. Because you see, even Rogavopoulos gave us 13.2 fantasy points. It's just this team, as we structure it, without that we put too much overthinking sometimes in our first team. So this team is just, boom, 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 and then this happens. So as Bill said, no stress, just sometimes go with your instinct, and then you will see the outcome. But let's see the coach of the week.
So that's no other than Mashiurlis for Zalgiris, the play at home versus Maccabi. Also, Maccabi is not on a good form, and 7.1 credits is one of the cheap options. Of course, there is the solution of Itudis as well, but it's quite expensive, or Ataman, that's also very expensive. So we think value for money Masiulis is probably the best option for this round. And with that, let's move on to our team.
And as you see, our team, we didn't make a lot of changes. We thought about bringing Vejankov back. We gave a lot of thinking about this move, but ultimately, what we decided is we keep the team as it is. We keep the duo Francisco and Brian at the guard position. We keep Milutinov and Farid, the duo for the center position. Then for the forward, Osmani, Lovavo, our keepers. And we just said Nora is back. Crvena Zvezda, another home game versus Barcelona, another opportunity for Nora to have a good game. So for that reason, Nora is our final choice between Vejankov and Nora to be added in the forward rotation for our team. And of course, we go with the coach of the week, Coach Masiulis, with 7.1 credits. In my opinion, it's a must-have. It can give you flexibility to build all around your team and just add some key players. For example, Nora with 13.2 credits is a great option to boost your forward position and your team. And as you see, just Lyles and Pascual are the players that moved, the player and the coach, that moved out. The rest of the team is as it is. We still keep Herrera, rotation player, but he delivers minimum, let's say 6 to 8 fantasy points. Lovavo we keep because he is the main scorer for Baskonia. Same with Osmani, one of the very, very efficient players for FS this year. And we end up with Milutinov, of course. It was our main target for the center position some rounds ago, and Kenneth Farid. And we end up with Samodurov and Miljanovic, just the fillers, the 4 credit fillers for this team. Our captain, Francisco, for turn 1, and potentially Noor captain for turn 2. Bill, any comment?
No, Vezenkov will still be on our list. So if something goes off for without him, perhaps then Vezenkov will be back. That will mean we will have to sacrifice another position. When we did that simulation, we actually had to sacrifice Bryant and bring Robinson. That is actually still a great option, but we believe Brian has a nice matchup versus as well, so we stick to that. But let's see how it goes. All in all, you can also find our recommendations for this round per position on the Real Hoopers Hub website. And as always, enjoy the round and see you next time.
Yeah, guys, enjoy round 14 and see you soon.